I cut off my family after their betrayal 6 months later. My pregnant fiancée showed up at my door. When I opened my front door that night and saw Emily standing there in the rain, one hand pressed against her swollen stomach, I honestly thought I was hallucinating. For 6 months, I had not heard her voice. For 6 months, I had not answered a single call from my parents, my younger brother, my cousins, my aunt, or anyone else who had tried to tell me I was overreacting. For 6 months, I had rebuilt my life around one simple rule. No family. No Emily. No past. But there she was. Soaked from the rain. Eyes red from crying. A wedding ring still hanging from the chain around her neck. And pregnant. Very pregnant. She looked at me like I was the only person left in the world who could save her. "Daniel," she whispered. My hand tightened around the doorframe. I hadn't heard my name from her mouth since the night I walked out of our engagement party after discovering the truth. The truth that my family had known she betrayed me. The truth that my brother had been involved. The truth that every person I loved had looked me in the eye for months and lied. I should have slammed the door. I should have told her to go back to the people she chose over me. But then she said 7 words that made the entire world go silent. "It's your baby. And he knows." 6 months earlier, I was supposed to marry Emily Carter. We had been together for 4 years. To everyone else, we were the perfect couple. She was warm, beautiful, charming, the kind of woman who remembered everyone's birthday and made homemade soup when someone got sick. I was the quiet one, the responsible one. The man who worked late, saved money, helped his parents fix their house, and loaned my brother cash every time his life fell apart. My family loved Emily. At least, that was what I believed. My mother called her the daughter I never had. My father joked that I had finally done something right. My younger brother, Ryan, treated her like a sister. Or at least that was what I told myself. Ryan had always been the golden child and the disaster at the same time. He was charming, reckless, and somehow always forgiven. If he lost a job, Mom said he was finding himself. If he borrowed money and never paid it back, Dad said, "That's what family is for." If he ruined something important, everyone looked at me and said, "Daniel, you know how your brother is." I knew exactly how Ryan was. He took what he wanted. And somehow, I was always expected to clean up the mess. Still, I loved him. That was my mistake. The night everything fell apart was supposed to be our engagement dinner. Emily and I had already picked a wedding date, October 19th, a small ceremony at a vineyard outside of town. Nothing extravagant, but beautiful. Her idea was candles, white roses, and soft music. My idea was simply marrying the woman I loved. The dinner was at my parents' house. My mother had decorated the dining room like it was a rehearsal dinner. White tablecloth, gold plates, flowers everywhere. My father opened an expensive bottle of wine he said he had been saving for a special occasion. Everyone was laughing. Everyone except Emily. She was quiet that night. Pale. Distracted. I thought she was nervous. I even leaned close and whispered, "You okay?" She smiled too quickly. "Just tired." Across the table, Ryan looked down at his plate. That should have been the first warning. After dinner, my mother brought out a cake that said "Almost Married" in blue icing. Everyone clapped. Emily cried. But not happy tears. I thought she was overwhelmed. Then my Aunt Patricia made a joke. "So, when are we getting grandchildren?" The room went still. Not awkward still. Guilty still. Emily's face turned white. Ryan dropped his fork. My mother snapped, "Patricia, not now. Not now." 2 small words. But something in my chest tightened. I looked around the table. My father avoided my eyes. My cousin stared at her wine glass. Ryan stood up and said he needed air. Emily whispered my name. I turned to her. "What's going on?" Nobody answered. So I asked again, louder. "What is going on?" My mother reached for my hand. "Daniel, honey, this is not the time." I pulled away. "Then when is the time?" Emily started crying. Ryan came back from the hallway. His face twisted with panic. And then my father said the sentence that destroyed everything. "We were going to tell you after the wedding." After the wedding. I looked at Emily. "What were you going to tell me?" She covered her mouth with both hands. Ryan said, "Dan, listen. It was a mistake." The room began to spin. I stood up slowly. What was a mistake? My brother looked at my fiancée. My fiancée looked at my mother. And my mother looked at me with pity. That was when I knew. Not the whole truth, but enough. I turned to Emily. "Did you sleep with him?" She sobbed. Ryan stepped forward. "It only happened once." Once. As if once was smaller. As if once didn't count. As if once didn't destroy 4 years. A wedding, a future, a home, a family. I remember the sound of the chair scraping behind me as I stepped back. I remember my mother saying, "Daniel, please calm down." I remember my father saying, "Your brothers. Don't make this worse." I remember laughing. Not because anything was funny. Because my mind couldn't process the amount of betrayal sitting around that table. "You all knew?" Silence. That silence answered me. My aunt cried. My cousin looked away. My father sighed like I was the one causing trouble. My mother said, "We found out 2 months ago." 2 months. For 2 months, they had eaten dinner with me. For 2 months, they had talked about wedding flowers. For 2 months, my mother had gone dress shopping with Emily. For 2 months, my brother had stood next to me and planned to be my best man. I looked at Emily. "You let me plan a wedding?" She was shaking. "I wanted to tell you, but you didn't." I was scared. "Of losing me?" She nodded. I looked at Ryan. "And you?" He swallowed. "I didn't want to hurt you." That made me laugh again. "You didn't want to hurt me, so you slept with my fiancée and then let me invite you to stand beside me at the altar?" Ryan's face hardened. "Don't act like you're perfect, Dan." There it was. The old family trick. When Ryan got cornered, somehow I became the problem. My mother stood up. "Daniel, people make mistakes." I stared at her. "A mistake is forgetting to lock the door." "This is not a mistake." My father slammed his hand on the table. "Enough. You're emotional. We'll discuss this like adults tomorrow." I looked at every face in that room. The woman I planned to marry, the brother I had protected my entire life, the parents I had trusted, the relatives who had smiled at me while hiding the knife in my back. And something inside me went cold. There was no screaming after that. No throwing plates. No dramatic speech. I simply took the engagement ring box from my jacket pocket. I had planned to give Emily a matching wedding necklace after dinner. Instead, I placed the box on the table. Then I looked at Emily. "You can keep the lies. I'm taking my life back." My mother cried, "Daniel, don't leave like this." I turned to her. "You left me first." Then I walked out. By midnight, I had blocked every number. By morning, I had packed my essentials. By the end of the week, I had accepted a transfer to another city 3 hours away. I changed apartments, changed jobs, changed routines. I deleted every photo, canceled the wedding, lost deposits, lost friends, lost family. And I told myself I had survived. But survival is not the same as healing. For the first month, I barely slept. I woke up at 3 in the morning with my heart racing, reaching for a woman who wasn't there. I'd see Emily's favorite cereal in a grocery aisle and feel like someone had punched me. I'd hear Ryan's laugh in a restaurant and turn around ready to fight a stranger. My parents called from unknown numbers. I never answered. My mother sent emails with subject lines like, "Please don't do this," and "Family can heal." I deleted them unread. My father sent one message. "You are punishing everyone for one bad decision." One bad decision. That was when I knew he would never understand. Because betrayal is not one decision. It is 1,000 little choices. The choice to hide. The choice to smile. The choice to sit across from someone you are destroying and ask them to pass the salt. Month 2 was anger. Month 3 was silence. Month 4, I began going to therapy. My therapist, Dr. Hall, was the first person who asked me a question nobody else had. "What did you lose besides Emily?" I said, "My family." She said, "What else?" I thought about it. My memories. Because that was the cruelest part. Betrayal doesn't only destroy the future, it rewrites the past. Every birthday, every holiday, every dinner, every joke, suddenly felt contaminated. Had they always loved Ryan more? Had my mother ever really seen me? Had my father only valued me because I was useful? Had Emily loved me at all? Or had I been convenient? By month 5, I stopped expecting apologies. By month 6, I had a routine. Work, gym, therapy, dinner alone, sleep when possible. I bought a small house on the edge of a quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy, 2 bedrooms, a little porch, a maple tree out front. I told myself it was a fresh start. Then came the storm. It was a Thursday night. Rain hammered the windows. Thunder rolled over the roof. I had just finished microwaving leftover pasta when someone knocked on my door. Not a normal knock. Desperate. 3 hard hits. Then 2 more. I looked through the peephole, and there she was, Emily. For a second, I couldn't move. Her hair was soaked. Her makeup had run down her cheeks. She wore a gray maternity sweater under an open coat, one arm wrapped around her stomach. Pregnant. My first thought was Ryan. My second thought was rage. My third thought was pain so sharp I had to grip the wall. I opened the door only halfway. "What are you doing here?" Her lips trembled. I didn't know where else to go. "Try my brother." She flinched. "Daniel, please." I looked at her stomach. "How far along are you?" "Almost 7 months." The math hit me like a truck. 7 months. The engagement dinner had been 6 months ago. The affair had supposedly happened 2 months before that. My voice came out flat. "Congratulations." She shook her head, crying harder. "It's not Ryan's." I almost closed the door. "I'm not doing this." "It's yours." My hand froze. The rain filled the silence between us. I stared at her. "What?" "The baby is yours." I stepped back like she had slapped me. "Do not lie to me." "I'm not lying. You slept with my brother." Yes. The word came out broken. One time. And I hate myself for it every day. But this baby is not his. I laughed bitterly. That's convenient. She reached into her bag with shaking hands and pulled out a folded envelope. I did a prenatal paternity test. I didn't take it. She held it out anyway. I wasn't going to come here. I swear. I was going to leave you alone forever because I knew I had no right to ask you for anything. But Ryan found out. A cold feeling crawled up my spine. Found out what? That the baby isn't his. I took the envelope. Inside were medical forms. Names. Dates. Percentages. I read the result 3 times. Probability of paternity. 99.99%. My name. Not Ryan's. Mine. For a moment, the entire room disappeared. I heard only rain. My child. Emily was carrying my child. A son. My knees almost gave out. I looked at her. How long have you known? 3 weeks. And you waited? I was scared. I laughed once, empty and sharp. You keep using that word. I know. She covered her face. I know I don't deserve your trust. I know I destroyed everything. But Daniel. Ryan is threatening me. That brought me back. Threatening you how? She looked over her shoulder into the rain like someone had followed her. He told everyone the baby was his after you left. Your parents believed him. My parents believed him. He played the victim. Said you abandoned me. Said he was stepping up when you ran away. My stomach turned. Of course he did. Ryan never wasted a crisis. He turned it into a stage. Emily continued. At first, I let them think whatever they wanted because I was ashamed. Then when the pregnancy started showing, your mother said maybe this was God's way of keeping the family together. I closed my eyes. That sounded exactly like her. She wanted me to marry Ryan. My eyes opened. What? Emily nodded, trembling. She said the baby needed a father. Your father said it would make things easier. Ryan acted like he was doing something noble. I felt the old rage wake up. And you? I said no. Finally. She deserved that. She took it. I know. What changed? The test. Whatever. I needed to know the truth before the baby was born. When Ryan found it, he went crazy. He said I humiliated him. He said if I told you, he would make sure you never saw the baby. Then your mother said if I came to you, she would tell everyone I cheated with multiple men and that you couldn't be sure the baby was yours. I stared at her. For months, I had imagined my family regretting what they did. I had pictured apologies, tears, maybe shame. But they had not regretted anything. They had adapted. They had built a new lie. And my unborn son was now part of it. Emily whispered. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking you to protect him. That was the only reason I didn't close the door. I stepped aside. Come in. She walked into my house slowly, like she expected me to change my mind. I gave her a towel. She sat on the edge of my couch, hands wrapped around a mug of tea she didn't drink. For the next hour, she told me everything. The affair had happened after a fight between us. A stupid fight. I had been working overtime to save for the wedding and came home exhausted. Emily felt neglected. Ryan came by. To check on her. He brought wine. He told her I had always been emotionally distant. He said she deserved someone who made her feel wanted. She cried while telling me this. I did not comfort her. Some things deserve tears. Some things do not deserve comfort. She admitted she made a choice. Not a mistake. A choice. The next morning, she regretted it. Ryan didn't. He became obsessed. He texted her constantly. She tried to shut it down. Then she found out she was pregnant. At first, she thought it might be Ryan's. That was why she panicked. That was why she told my mother before she told me. My mother, instead of telling me the truth, called a family meeting without me. They decided to hide it until after the wedding. After the wedding, they planned to handle it privately. I almost couldn't breathe when she said that. Handle it privately? Emily looked down. Your mother said, if the baby looked like you, no one needed to know. If not. She couldn't finish. She didn't have to. I stood up and walked to the kitchen because if I stayed still, I was going to break something. My mother had been willing to let me raise my brother's child without knowing. My father had agreed. Emily had allowed it. Ryan had smiled in my face. When I came back, Emily was crying silently. I'm sorry, she said. I leaned against the wall. I believe you. Her head lifted. 5. You do? I believe you're sorry. I don't know if that changes anything. She nodded. It doesn't have to. That night, I let her sleep in the guest room. I slept on the couch. Actually, I didn't sleep. I stayed awake until sunrise, reading the paternity test again and again. My son, I was going to be a father. And I had missed 6 months of it because the people who claimed to love me had buried the truth under their own selfishness. The next morning, I called Dr. Hall and asked for an emergency appointment. Then, I called a lawyer. Not because I wanted revenge. Not at first. I wanted protection. Custody rights, medical access, Proof, boundaries. My lawyer, Karen Mitchell, was sharp, calm, and absolutely terrifying in the best way. After reviewing the documents and Emily's messages from Ryan and my parents, she looked at me and said, "Your family has created a legal and emotional mess. But the good news is, the evidence is strong." Emily had saved everything. Texts from Ryan threatening her. Emails from my mother pressuring her to think about the family. A voicemail from my father saying, "Daniel doesn't need to know until we decide what's best." We. That word made me sick. Karen advised me not to contact my family directly. So naturally, my family contacted me. It started with my mother. She called from a new number. I answered on speaker with Karen sitting beside me. "Daniel?" my mother said, voice shaking. I said nothing. "Oh, thank God. Honey, please listen. Emily is confused. She's emotional. Pregnancy hormones can make women do irrational things." Emily sat across the room, face pale. My mother continued. "Ryan told us she ran to you. Whatever she said. Please don't make any rash decisions." I finally spoke. "Is that what you called it when you hid her affair from me? A rash decision?" Silence. Then my mother cried. "We were trying to keep the family together." "No. You were trying to protect Ryan. That's not fair." "Fair?" My voice went cold. "You knew she might be carrying his child and you let me plan a wedding." My mother sobbed harder. "We didn't know what else to do. You could have told the truth." Another silence. Then she said the thing that ended whatever tiny piece of sun remained in me. "Daniel, you have always been stronger than Ryan. We knew you could survive it." I closed my eyes. There it was. The family philosophy. Ryan could destroy. I could survive. "So I was always the one expected to bleed quietly," I said. "You don't get access to my child." She gasped. "Your child?" "Yes. How do you know?" I smiled without humor. "Because unlike this family, I believe in evidence." I ended the call. 2 hours later, Ryan showed up. Not at my house. At Emily's parents' house, screaming on their lawn. By evening, he sent me 23 text messages from different numbers. "You think you can steal my family? That baby was supposed to fix everything. You ruined my life. Mom and Dad will never forgive you for this." The last message was the most honest. "You always had to take everything from me." I stared at that one for a long time. Because that was Ryan's sickness. He didn't want Emily. He didn't want the baby. He wanted what belonged to me. And for the first time, I decided I was done defending myself quietly. Karen filed the necessary documents. Emily signed an affidavit detailing everything. I established legal paternity. We arranged temporary co-parenting protections before the birth. And then, because my family had started telling relatives that Emily was unstable and I was manipulating her, Karen sent a formal letter. Cease harassment. Preserve communications. No contact except through legal counsel. My mother called it cruel. My father called it embarrassing. Ryan called it war. But I called it peace. For the next 2 months, Emily stayed in my guest room. Not because we were back together. We were not. Trust does not resurrect just because a baby exists. She stayed because she was heavily pregnant, scared, and carrying my son. We created rules. Separate rooms. No physical affection. No conversations about reconciliation unless I brought it up. Therapy for her. Therapy for me. Co-parenting classes. Doctor appointments together only when necessary. The first time I saw my son on the ultrasound screen, something inside me cracked open. He was tiny and perfect. One hand near his face, heartbeat strong. The nurse smiled and said, "There he is." I didn't cry. Not until I got to my truck. Then I sat in the parking lot with both hands over my face and cried like a man who had lost everything and found one reason to keep breathing. Emily saw me from the passenger seat. She didn't touch me. She just whispered, "His name?" I looked at the ultrasound picture. For months, I had imagined my future ending. Now it was kicking on a black and white screen. "Samuel," I said. "My grandfather's name." Emily smiled through tears. "Samuel is beautiful." In those 2 months, I saw a different version of Emily. Not the perfect fiancée. Not the crying woman from the doorway. A broken person doing the hard work of accountability. She didn't ask me to forgive her. She didn't blame Ryan. She didn't blame loneliness or stress or alcohol. She said, "I chose wrong. I hurt you. I will spend the rest of my life making sure our son never learns love as lies." I wanted to hate her forever. Some days I did, but hatred takes energy, and fatherhood was coming whether I was ready or not. Then Samuel arrived 3 weeks early. It was 2 a.m. when Emily knocked on my bedroom door. "Daniel," she said, voice shaking. My water broke. Everything became motion. Hospital bag. Car keys. Rain again. Because apparently, every major moment in my life required a storm. At the hospital, Emily gripped the bed rail through contractions while I stood beside her feeling useless. When the nurse asked if I was the father, I said yes, before Emily could answer. That word hit me harder than expected. Father. 8 hours later, Samuel James Carter Miller entered the world screaming like he had something to prove. The doctor placed him in Emily's arms first. Then she looked at me. "Dad, would you like to hold him?" "Dad." I took him carefully. He was warm, tiny, furious, alive. His eyes opened for half a second, dark and unfocused. And I knew instantly that nothing my family had done mattered more than protecting him from becoming part of their cycle. Emily watched me hold him. "I'm sorry you missed so much," she whispered. I looked down at my son. "So am I?" 2 days after Samuel was born, my parents came to the hospital. They were not on the visitor list. Security stopped them. My mother caused a scene in the lobby, crying that her grandson had been stolen from her. My father demanded to speak to me. Ryan, according to security, stayed in the parking lot. Karen had warned me this might happen. I went downstairs alone. My mother looked older than I remembered. My father looked angry. Not ashamed. Angry. "Daniel," my mother cried, reaching for me. I stepped back. "Don't." She froze. My father said, "This has gone far enough." I looked at him. "You're right." He seemed relieved. Then I said, "Leave." My mother sobbed. "We just want to see the baby." "You mean the baby you were going to use to cover up Ryan's affair?" Her face crumpled. "That is a horrible thing to say. It's a horrible thing to do." My father lowered his voice. "People are asking questions. You're making this family look disgusting." "No," I said. "I'm making this family visible." His jaw tightened. "You think you're better than us now?" I looked at him for a long moment. "No. I think I'm finally done being worse to myself just to make you comfortable." My mother whispered, "I'm your mother." I nodded. "And I'm Samuel's father." For the first time, that title felt stronger than son. I continued. "You will not meet him until I see real accountability. Not excuses, not guilt, not crying. Accountability." My father scoffed. "So what, you want us to beg?" "No. I want you to understand. But I'm not waiting for it anymore." I turned and walked away. My mother called after me. "Daniel, please. We're family." I stopped. For years, those words had controlled me. We're family. Meaning forgive. Forget. Sacrifice. Bleed. Stay. I looked back. Family is not a free pass to destroy someone. Then I went upstairs to my son. After Samuel came home, life became sleepless and strange and beautiful. Emily moved into a small apartment 10 minutes away once she recovered. We shared custody carefully at first, then more naturally. Some days were awkward, some days were painful, but we were honest. That was new. Honesty became the foundation. Not romance, not nostalgia, not guilt, honesty. When Samuel was 3 months old, Emily asked if we could talk on my porch after he fell asleep. She looked healthier then, tired, but steady. "I'm not asking to come back," she said. I appreciated that she began there. "I know, but I need to say something." I waited. "I loved you. I know that sounds worthless after what I did, but I did. And I think the worst part is that I was too weak to protect the love I had. Ryan gave me attention at a moment when I felt lonely, and instead of having the courage to talk to you, I betrayed you. Then I was too ashamed to tell the truth. And your family made cowardice feel like a plan." She wiped her eyes. "I don't expect you to forgive me, but I am going to become someone Samuel can respect, whether you ever love me again or not." For once, her apology did not feel like a request. It felt like a promise to herself. I said, "I don't know what forgiveness looks like for us." She nodded. "Neither do I. But I want peace." She looked at me. "For Samuel? For me too." That was the beginning of something. Not a reunion. Not yet. Just peace. My family did not find peace. Ryan spiraled. Without the fake hero story, he had nothing. Relatives started asking questions. Emily's affidavit eventually became known, because Ryan kept ranting about it online. My mother tried to control the narrative, but too many people had seen her messages. My father stopped attending church for a while because people whispered. And me? I did not celebrate. That surprised me. For months, I had imagined their downfall would feel satisfying, but when it came, it just felt quiet. Like watching a house rot from the inside and finally collapse. Ryan lost his job after threatening Emily's coworker, convinced she was dating someone. My parents paid his rent. Then he crashed my father's truck while drunk. They paid for that too. The golden child remained golden, even covered in mud. But now, I was no longer the broom. When Samuel was 5 months old, my mother sent a letter. A real one. Handwritten. No excuses in the first paragraph, which was progress. She wrote that she had failed me. That she had confused my strength with permission to hurt me. That she had protected Ryan because facing who he was meant facing who she had been as a mother. She wrote that she did not deserve to meet Samuel, but she hoped one day she could apologize to me in person. I read it 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer. I did not respond for 2 weeks. Healing is not a performance. Nobody gets to demand it on their schedule. Eventually, I agreed to meet her in a public park. No Samuel, just me. She arrived with no makeup, holding tissues in both hands. The first thing she said was, "I am sorry." Not but. Not, "We were scared." Not, "You have to understand." Just sorry. So I sat down. She cried. I let her. Then I told her what her choices had cost me. My sleep, my trust, my home, my memories. The first months of my son's life. The belief that my mother would protect me if the world turned against me. That one hurt her the most. Good. Some truths should hurt. At the end, she asked, "Do you think someday I could meet him?" I said, "Someday is possible. Soon is not." She nodded. "I'll wait." My father took longer. Pride is a disease in men who confuse authority with love. He sent messages through my mother. I ignored them. Finally, when Samuel was 8 months old, he asked to meet. He looked smaller when I saw him. For the first 20 minutes he talked around the apology. Then I stood up. "I'm not here for a weather report." He looked startled. I said, "Either say what you came to say or don't waste my time." His face turned red. Then his shoulders dropped. "I failed you," he said. It was the first honest thing I had heard from him in years. He admitted he had pressured everyone to keep quiet because he didn't want the family name dragged through gossip. He admitted he saw me as the stable one, and Ryan as the fragile one. He admitted that he had asked me to carry burdens that were never mine. Then he said, "I don't know how to be your father after this." I said, "Start by not asking me to be yours." Anyone. Start by not asking me to be yours. He cried then. I had never seen my father cry. I did not hug him. But I stayed. That was all I had to give. Ryan never apologized. Not really. He sent one email that said, "I'm sorry everything got so messed up." Everything. As if betrayal was weather. As if lies were traffic. As if he had simply been nearby when my life exploded. I deleted it. Some people deserve distance. Not closure. A year after I opened the door to Emily in the rain, we celebrated Samuel's first birthday in my backyard. It was small. Emily was there. Her parents were there. My mother came for 1 hour. Invited under strict boundaries. She cried when she saw Samuel, but she did not touch him until I nodded. My father came too, quieter than I had ever seen him. Ryan was not invited. He never would be unless something miraculous happened inside him. And I no longer built my life around miracles from people who refused to change. Emily and I were not married. We were not engaged again. But we were better than we had been when we were planning a wedding built on secrets. We were honest, careful, slow. Sometimes she stayed for dinner after dropping Samuel off. Sometimes we laughed. Sometimes grief moved through the room like a ghost, and we let it pass without pretending it wasn't there. One night, after Samuel's birthday, Emily helped me clean up paper plates from the yard. The sun was setting. Samuel was asleep inside. She looked at me and said, "Do you ever wonder what life would have been like if I had told you the truth immediately?" I looked at the little blue candle still sitting on the table. "Yes. And I think it still would have hurt." She nodded. "But maybe less?" "Maybe." She swallowed. "I wish I had been brave enough to hurt you with the truth, instead of destroying you with a lie." That sentence stayed with me. Because that was what betrayal really was. Not just the act. The cover-up. The theft of someone's right to make decisions about their own life. I looked through the window at Samuel sleeping in his crib. We can't change what happened. I know. But we can make sure he grows up in truth. Emily nodded. He will. 2 years have passed since that stormy night. Samuel is now a wild, laughing toddler who loves blueberries, hates socks, and believes every dog in the world exists specifically to be greeted by him. My mother sees him once a month under boundaries she has never again challenged. My father is learning to speak less and listen more. Emily and I are still not married, but last month, I asked her if she wanted to have dinner with me. Not as co-parents. Not as two people managing a schedule. As Daniel and Emily. She cried before saying yes. I don't know where that road leads. Maybe forgiveness, maybe friendship, maybe love rebuilt slowly from the ruins. But I know this. I am not the man who sat at that dinner table and waited for his family to choose him. I choose myself now. I choose my son. I choose peace over appearances, truth over comfort, boundaries over blood. And when people ask me if cutting off my family was worth it, I tell them the truth. I didn't cut them off to punish them. I cut them off because staying would have taught me to betray myself. And the night Emily showed up pregnant at my door, I learned something I will never forget. Sometimes the past comes back not to destroy you again. Sometimes it comes back carrying the one thing that finally gives you the strength to close the door on who you used to be, and open another one for who you are becoming.